Welcome back everyone. I know it's been a long time, so let's just jump right into work. We're gonna duplicate our low collection here and just send it to a new collection. Let's call it gate_game. And now here we're just gonna batch rename them by pressing Ctrl F2 and then finding our low.001 and replacing them with _game. So this is going to replace all our names to _game. Now that that's done, we're going to start separating our meshes so they are functional for being used in our engine. We want our frame to be just one mesh and our gate to be just another mesh, and they're each going to use two materials, one for the planks and then one for the nails and the ropes. So yeah, just separate them by going to edit mode, selecting the pieces that we want and pressing P, and then just pressing by selection. This is going to separate them, and then we're going to join them back together in a functional set. Just here we go, like this, and then just Ctrl J to connect them back together. Yeah, just it's a simple process. Go through each plank that you want to have connected. See, now we have the gate done here. Our horizontal planks belong to the gate as well, so we're gonna grab them as well, and we're just gonna join them back into our gate here. I'm gonna use this lower part of our pivoting stick here to create the pivot on which our gate is gonna, you guessed it, pivot. And we just need our ropes here as well, so let's separate them as well. There we go, and just join their meshes to the gate mesh here. So there we go. Now our gate has all the meshes that it needs. We're gonna shade smooth, and we're gonna, oh, we forgot the nails. We're just gonna join the nails as well. And see, it now rotates perfectly along the pivoting point, which is our little branch here. Now that that's done, we're gonna do the same thing with our frame here. So let's just select all the meshes we want to combine and just join them together. This is gonna be fairly easy because they're already, you know, separated, so nothing too much to worry about. Just grab whatever you need and Ctrl J so they become one mesh. And then once that's done, we're gonna give them some materials. We forgot the horizontal planks here. There we go. Now see, we got only two meshes. We're gonna call them gate game, and the other one we're gonna, oh wait, no, let's call this gate _game, and the other one we're gonna call the, let's see, we're gonna call it gate frame _game. There we go. So now we know what we're working with here. Once we're happy with the result, we can send it to, I forgot that we already created the materials. We're just gonna export it to our project folder. If you don't already have, and I guess you don't have, an Unreal Engine project folder, don't worry about it. I will provide you with the Unreal Engine project that you can use for the imports and the lighting and the rendering. It will contain all the rocks and a little glowing jar that you can put on the gate yourself, and the grass planes, so everything you need to render the scene as you have seen it in the first video. So you can open that now actually and go into your import and just find where you exported the gate frame for your game and just hit the import button here. There we go. This will import our gate frame into the scene, and you can now drag it onto the scene. You see, I'm using my scene here, which is from another project, but it's basically the same. Just import it and you can drag it into the scene if you want to. Now here we move our gate to the center of our world in Blender, so the pivot will actually be at the same place where we have it in Blender once we export it to Unreal. So yeah, now that that's exported, you can see it will pop up in Unreal, or either it's gonna either be automatically, or you're gonna have to click on import and then go and find your file, the FBX I mean. So now go to your substance and let's export our textures. Just pick the same folder where the gate and the frame are in Unreal Engine, and you have to select Unreal Engine 4 Packed. For the file format, go with TIFF and just select 4K textures so we get the best and highest quality, and then just hit export. So yeah, if you having trouble following along, there's nothing much happening right now. We just exported all the meshes and we're right now exporting all the textures. We want to place them all in the same folder, so it's going to be easier for us to later have them placed on the materials that we want. So now that that's exported, you can go into your folder in the Unreal Engine and just see that you have the meshes and the textures here. Select your mask maps and go down to sRGB and unselect it. And you can do that to the other mask map as well. Just go down, select sRGB or unselect it, save the texture, and you'll be done. So that's gonna be needed to have the texture work properly. After that's done, go and create a new material by pressing right click material and call it m_gate. Open it up and now you can drag your textures into the little window here, and once you're in here, just organize them a little better. Just move the base map a little higher and just connect it to the base color. Grab your normal, move it higher and connect it to the, oh, ignore this, just grab your normal and connect it to the normal. There we go, and now you have to figure out which one of these goes where. As we've used Unreal Engine for the packed version from Substance, the exporter, this maps the channels as follows. R, the red channel, is ambient occlusion. G or green is for our roughness, and then B or blue is for the metallic channel. So once you have that connected, you can duplicate the gate material and open it up. And now we're just gonna switch our textures for the other texture sets that we need. One material is going to be for the logs and planks, and the other one is going to be for the nails and the ropes. So we can actually rename the first one, as I did it incorrectly. We can call the first one logs and planks, and then the second one we can call planks, ropes and nails, I guess. So now it's just a matter of connecting the right textures to the right material. You can go into your planks, ropes and nails and then just put this window in windowed mode so we can access our textures and find our planks, nails and ropes texture. Just select the base one and then you have this little arrow that's gonna switch them right out. You have to do the same for the base mask, for the normal and for the mask map. And there you go, that's it. This gave us two perfectly usable materials for our gate and for our frame. So now we're gonna jump into our meshes here, but just double clicking them. And we're gonna apply the actual materials here. You can see it uses two materials, as I said, one's for the logs and the planks, and the other one's for the nails and the ropes and the horizontal planks, I think. If you remember, that's how we textured them. And by pressing this little isolate button here, you can isolate it in the viewport and see which one actually needs which material. So just drag it on there and remove the isolate. So since we've used this one, we know that the other one is going to the top here, and there you go, you have your gate textured in Unreal. and we're going to do the same for the gate here, and you'll be fine. You can go into your collision tab if you need, and just select auto convex collision. It's the lowest option here, and then click this little apply button down here, and this is going to give you a semi-complex collision on your little gate. This is just so if you're using it in a game, so that the player or other objects can collide with it. It's not really necessary, but if you want, you can do it. You can see here we have a little bit of a problem with our right log. This happened when we were joining the meshes together. For some reason, sometimes Blender gives it two different UV channels, and you have to like combine them so both meshes that are being joined together have the same UV channel. Ignore the fact that I have four textures, four materials here. I was trying something out. You should only have two. So now jumping back into Blender, you see if we select our right log, it's just nothing there on the UV channel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our log from the low poly version, or the collection that's called gate_low, or whatever the low collection is, and we're gonna duplicate it so we can use the mesh properly, or either fix the UVs that we have here. I wanted to include this part because I know it can be frustrating sometimes that something like this happens, and you know, today with ChatGPT it's pretty easy to figure out what's going on, but it took me a while until I got this working. So what I tried to do here is unwrap the existing one, but then I realized it won't fit perfectly. So I went to our gate_low, duplicated our right log, and I move it to the connection gate_game. It's now in the same place as the log before, but the UV map is perfectly mapped as it was before joining the meshes together. Now I'm gonna move it up here, so just so that I know which one is which. And if I go into this little data tab, this little green triangle here, you can see that one uses one UV map and the other uses two. So what we want to do is select our log here and then just press the little plus button. This will give it two UV channels, and once we join the meshes together now, it will work perfectly because they'll have their UV channels synced. And the only thing left to do now is select both of these meshes and just move the upper mesh to the same position as the lower mesh was, and then just delete the old mesh. There we go. And now what you can do is just go back and just export onto the same mesh. So just you can overwrite it, and once that's done, Unreal is either gonna do it automatically and it's gonna be re-imported by itself, or you can just go into your mesh here, press right click and click on re-import, and there you go. The fix is right there. So this is what your scene actually should look like, and if you've been working with your gate or my scene from until now, you should have been working in this scene. This is the classic open world scene from Unreal Engine. It just gives you this open space and the mountains. So as I said, I'm providing you the scene so you can just open it and you have everything you need or see here that you can use to create the set dressing, so the rocks and the foliage. Basically now we want to drag our gate, if you haven't already, into the scene. And we're gonna start composing the scene a little bit here. I'm just gonna move it down a little bit so that it actually touches the floor. And we're gonna add the little gate here and just move it so that the ropes are working with each other in a way that fixates the gate onto our frame here. Now that that's done, we're gonna just move it a little bit more. There we go. So now that that's done, let's get some rocks here. As I said, I provided you with rock walls. They're already textured and they're ready to be used. And of course, you can use these assets however you want in any future projects. They're yours to keep. Just do whatever you want with them, create something beautiful, or never open this project again. It's completely up to you. You also have this little glowing jar thingy that you can place onto the gate here. I needed to separate the meshes so the glass would function properly, so I did it as a three-parter here. I used the ropes as the first part, and then since everything has the same pivot point, you can actually just drag it into the scene, make it a child, and then once you zero out all the settings, it should perfectly fit into your ropes, the glass jar I mean. It has this little emission texture inside, like the fluid was sloshing in there. And then you can take the liquid and you can make it a child of the glass and then zero out every setting in there. And that should work perfectly. And oh, I missed it here. Just give me a sec. So liquid goes into there and zero out everything. Oh, maybe it's another pivot because it needs to like work as a liquid with gravity, so you just have to move it by hand and place it into the right position. But now once it's in there, you can rotate it and it will follow the contour of the glass perfectly. You'll see this here in a second. Let me just select it. See, now when I rotate it, you can even animate it and make it like jiggle a little bit or slosh around, you know. But yeah, basically, again, you can use these assets if you have some cool adventure game that you're working on or whatever scene you're working on. You can use this if you want. This as well goes for the fireflies. I'm gonna add them too, and the grass. And later I'm gonna show you how to add some trees from the Fab store, which are free to use as well. So let's now proceed and let's see what can we do next. Maybe add the rocks now, so we can actually pin our gate in place. We're just gonna grab these walls here and just position them where we want. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Basically what I'm doing is just moving our assets into the scene and then just duplicating and moving them around, changing the scale, changing the rotation values so that they have a little bit of variance in the scene. Let's now add some supporting lights here. The scene already uses the light system that Unreal provides, but we're just gonna add some accent lighting here, which is gonna make the scene pop a little bit more. For example, the glowing light of this little glowing jar here. Let's see, let's do probably 200, a smaller attenuation radius. This defines how far the light will travel. And it's kind of, I don't know if I want to keep the shadows. Yeah, I probably do. This looks good. And I'm just gonna duplicate it and yeah, move some lights around here. You can follow along, or I encourage you to try something crazy, maybe create some cool light source somewhere else, maybe duplicate the jar and have lots of jars that are lighting the scene. What I'm trying to do here is just create something a little bit more interesting for the eye, and at the moment it might not look like much because there's a lot of lighting situations going on, but later on, once we dim our directional light and make the scene a little bit more of a night scene, it's gonna make the gate pop a lot more, and you'll be able to see that in just a moment here. People often forget the rim light. You want to place a light behind your object so that it creates these highlights on just the edges of the gate that you can see here. This will make it also pop out a little bit more from the background, especially when it gets a darker background once we dim the lights here. I'm just gonna set all the lights to, I guess I'm just gonna see if see how this little X thingy here is. This disappears once you move set the lights to be movable. So there we go, that's done. And yeah, okay, let's see. Maybe we can change some color settings here, make this a little bit more bluish since our liquid from the get-go is blue. And the other ones I'm gonna make warmer, so we also create a little color contrast. We're just gonna select multiple lights, the point lights that you see here. We're gonna use the temperature and we're just gonna move it to a smaller number, maybe 350 or something like that. That's 3500, I'm sorry. And for the rim lights, we can see if we want to change them later, but I'm gonna make them colder for now. Right now they're pretty much white. We can make them a little colder so they get a little bluish color. But yeah, this really depends on what our background lighting is doing. But yeah, this looks good for now. Let's see if we can now add some foliage to the scene. So I provided you with the grass type foliage here that you can see. It's just simple yellowish grass on a plane. If you go up here into your foliage mode and then just select some of the grass that you want to use, you can see I'm selecting the wrong part here. You want to go and select your grass patches and move them into the foliage. It's gonna ask you if you want to create the foliage type from it, and you're gonna say yes, and then you're just gonna select your brush size and your paint density, and you can start painting in the foliage into your scene here. Make it as dense as you want, depending on your PC specs. It's gonna be either very cumbersome for your PC or maybe not cumbersome at all. That's just something that you have to see for yourself. Basically, if you go down in the settings and unselect shadows and dynamic shadows, you're gonna be much better off. Basically, I almost never use them. But yeah, it just depends on your PC settings as to how much foliage you can generally put into a scene. There's also a lot of other settings that I'm not gonna go through here. There's foliage culling, which defines how far the foliage from the camera is being rendered. This can also save you some GPU processing power, but basically for this little scene you can go pretty crazy without Unreal starting to struggle. So yeah, just go ahead. See, I'm painting different kinds of patches here just to see what amount of foliage I want. This is just a thing of this is a subjective thing. You can put a lot of it in here. You can make it very big, you can make it really small and dense. It's really up to you. So yeah, just go ahead and paint around the walls. What I'm doing here is painting around the rock walls here and leaving the middle strip here where a little path would usually be, going towards the gate free, so no foliage here. You can delete the foliage by, I think it's shift, by holding shift, or just going to the little erase option up here and just going over the painted foliage again. We're gonna paint some more foliage in front of our gate here. I'm just gonna speed it up a little bit. Okay, don't forget to save your level as well, and just call it whatever you want. But yeah, don't forget to save it. Unreal sometimes has the tendency to crash, so yeah, better be safe than sorry, if you know what I mean. Okay, now that that's done, I think basically all our set dressing is done. We're gonna, as I said, add trees a little bit later. But we're gonna probably focus a little bit more on the lighting setup right now, since already by placing the camera here we've created something interesting, something a little romantic. You can imagine if we were to spread the foliage all the way to the mountains, it would look crazy good, but for our needs and the rendering style that we're going to be doing, which is like just a gate reveal or the mesh reveal or model reveal, whatever you want to call it, a mesh show off, this little patch of grass here is going to be just fine. Maybe I'll add a little bit more later on, but for the basic setup here it's going to be fine. Selecting the directional light and just moving it down, you're going to see how all the systems work together and we get this beautiful golden hour lighting. And now we can just start working on the lights a little bit more. Just adjusting, you know, different kinds of settings, either the brightness or the strength of the lights, and then adjusting attenuation radiuses, the sizes of the lights, until we get something we like. There's going to be a little cut here. I'm just going to grab our ground material, which is going to be in the ground folder, and just drag it onto our landscape here. This is going to give us this little muddy texture. Going to our little plus sign up there and grabbing our post-processing volume here, and we're also gonna grab our exponential height fog. This is so that we're gonna be able to create just volumetric fog, make the scene more atmospheric. See, it already kind of swallowed up the mountains and kind of blended the light throughout the whole scene. What we want to do is find a good number that works for the background and the foreground as well. You can change all the settings, just try different settings until you find whatever works for you. But most of the time volumetric fog is a big one. This is gonna spread the light or use the light to spread the fog around and give you those nice God rays that we all love to see everywhere. And then just work on your settings until you find something that works for you. Just work on fog density and fog color. This is the basics. Nothing too crazy is gonna happen here. Just it's gonna either change how densely the light is traveling through the fog and how the light affects the color of the fog. There you go. So see, you can switch it to be very dark, moody, or very like romantic, orangey, whatever, as I said, works for you. So yeah, once we figure out all the settings we want, we can also go to our lights and play with the volumetric scattering setting in our lights. This is gonna allow us to even more amplify the volumetric effect of the fog in our lights. And you can do that for every individual light separately. Let's add, or if we already added, just select your post-processing. If we didn't, go and add our post-processing volume here. By selecting it and searching unbound in the search box, check the unbound, the little tick box. This will allow the post-process to affect the whole scene and not just a little bounding box. After that, go in and select your blooms, or check the bloom settings, check exposure settings. You're gonna see immediately this is gonna light up the scene a lot. And yeah, from now on, basically everything you do is going to be fully up to you. You can make this as bright as you want, as dark as you want, as gritty, as contrasty, as colorful. You know, you can do night and day differences or very, very stark contrasts by just switching and pulling and moving the settings in your post-process volume. What I'm doing here is I'm gonna use our sun as this little fake wave creating moonlight. We're just gonna grab the sun, move it to a position where I would like the moon to be, and then I'm gonna play with the settings of the directional light and the settings of the post-process volume to get or fake this little night scene. You can see it's already really dark, but it doesn't really feel like a night scene. So we're just gonna create the night scene by moving the exposure around. Here I just go and do some chromatic aberration. You can see how it creates this camera lens effect between the contrasting colors. This is usually put into a very, very small number, so you don't want to overshoot here because it's gonna look weird. I'm also gonna add a dirt mask here, so this is going to be a mask that's constantly going to be displayed on the camera lens. It's gonna make it feel more gritty and a little bit more maybe realistic. So yeah, just select it and just push the settings up, and you can see there's little gritty spots here on our lens now. We can even change the color of them if we want to. I'm gonna keep it as is for now with this bluish little tint. So local exposure, this is gonna give us a little bit more control of our exposure settings, but in a very controlled manner. This is gonna give us more control over the contrasty feels of the scene. Bigger contrasts are going to be created between the lights and the darks. And yeah, you can basically control the exposure a little bit more. You can see that as I drop down the scene exposure, I'm just going to boost the lights now, and this is going to give us a little bit more of a nightly effect. It also is going to light our scene much better. You can see now that I start to boost the rim lights back here, how the gate is being, how the gate just pops better in contrast to the dark background here. It's gonna give it nice edge lighting here, and yeah, we're gonna be able to see where it actually starts and where it ends. Let's move this one a little closer. Yeah, there we go. See, this also simulates a little bit of the directional light from above. It creates these little shadows on the ground. Going back to our post-processing volume here, let's go jump into our local exposure settings here and just move some things around until we get something we like. Again, I encourage you not to copy what I'm doing, at least not fully. Try to make sense of it on your own. Following lots of tutorials online, I've always tried to recreate the scene I'm seeing, and it never ever worked out for me. It always came out wrong because I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna show you all the settings, but for you, you're gonna probably have something a little different. Maybe your directional light is gonna be a little stronger, or your other lights are gonna be a little stronger, and this is gonna mess with the post-processing. So I encourage you to just follow your eyes and follow your heart and try to create something beautiful on your own here. I'm just gonna give you this as a little guide on what it takes to get something like this. But yeah, basically, I would encourage you to try something cool on your own. See, moving some sliders too much is going to overexpose or your scene, or overexpose the lights, or give them too much power. So just try to stay in control of what looks good and what just goes overboard. This is a cool setting here, detail strength. It's going to give you a lot more contrast in between your lights and your shadows, and this is going to give this a little bit more of a cooler, like higher res look. So I like to push that a little bit more. And now it's just, moving the lights around, moving the settings around until we get something that works. Let's speed this up a little bit. All I'm doing here is working the settings. I also added this little vignette setting so that the outside of the screen gets a little darker and the middle part it stays just the way it is. This is going to give us a little bit more of compressed feel of the scene. Important part here though is moving the temperature slider to something colder, so the light of the whole scene gets more bluish. This is gonna make it more of a night scene because night sky is kind of bluish. And then you can go into your directional light, and this is gonna change the scene a lot now. by going into your light color in your directional light and moving it somewhere to the colder side, maybe make it something more blue. This is gonna really affect, see, how the scene feels. You can change any color you want. You can make it look something like there's vampires rising from the ground, you know, or from whatever, from an abandoned church. But yeah, if we move it to something more bluish, this is gonna give it this cool night feel. You can see there's this bloom coming out directly from the directional lights. It's too harsh, we're gonna change it a little later, but yeah. If we now move the directional light setting a little lower, see 0 creates complete darkness, we don't want that, but just moving it a little lower is gonna give us this cool little feel. Now you can also play with the size of your sun here by the source angle setting here. You can make this moon, yeah, now it's a moon, make it crazy large, so that's, you know, something you can try. It's gonna make it look really cool. I really like this. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, just by moving the slider to the bluish side, as everything is connected, you know, the weathers, the clouds here, the sky atmosphere, and everything is working together as one system. Just by moving this one slider around, it creates all this amazing stuff that you can see here. Here I'm just trying a few more settings. Nothing is really gonna really work here, I think. See how moving the volumetric scattering on your lighting creates more fog, especially in the directional light, which embraces the full scene. You can even go into your sky atmosphere here and change some settings if you want as well over here. You know, if your sky atmosphere is also blue, it's gonna make the scene a lot more cartoony, but there's a lot of stuff that you can change as well here, like the density of the clouds, the scattering of the clouds, and you know, just how light hits the clouds and how it spreads over the sky. This is going to give you a lot of artistic choices as well, so you can make it look crazy. You can make the directional light be blue, but then the sky light be something more dramatic like orange or green, or you know, it just depends on what you want to show the people in the end. I'm gonna speed this part up as well because it's, you know, basically just moving between the directional light, the sky atmosphere, and our lights that we placed in the scene, and just changing settings and moving them around until I find something that works for me. And as I said, you should be able to find something that works for you as well. Let's now pause it here again or slow it down again, because here is something cool that you can change. If you go to your settings here where there's color gradients that you can change, you can just check every box here that you can see and then just start moving sliders around. Again, this is not something that you should copy from me perfectly, but it's more a thing of your like artistic direction, or the artistic direction that you want to achieve or maybe copy. This will give you the most amount of control over saturation, contrast, gamma, gain, offset of colors, of light, of whatever it is you want. You can switch here, and this is going to give a drastic or a dramatic change to your scene. You can make it more desaturated, more saturated, more bluish, more reddish, whatever it is you find that works for you, you can do it here. And you can do the same for the lighter parts of your scene, so where it's more lighted up, and the darker parts or the shadows of your scene. So you can, for example, make the shadows be really desaturated and then the light parts be really saturated and contrasty, or just switch it around. Make the shadows really dark and full of contrast and make the lights really desaturated. It really depends on the look that you're going for. But yeah, Usually I like to do something like cool shadows and then a little bit more saturated feel on the lighter parts of the scene. Once that is done, we're gonna go ahead and now add our little fireflies here. I provided you the little fireflies. It's just a blueprint that you can drag onto the scene. You can drag it to the little jar here. It's gonna make it look like there's lots of fireflies gathering around the glowing jar here. That's gonna give the scene a little bit more life, like something's happened, and it's going to be much more interesting to look at once it's rendered. Don't worry about this part too much. Here I just duplicated the fireflies blueprint that I had and I just changed the color. I also changed the setting of how far they would spread. So basically I'm just gonna provide you with all the fireflies already in the project, so you just can drag and drop them into the scene, and you can of course change the settings however you like, but they're gonna be ready for you. If you go into the Fab marketplace site, just by going into window here and then selecting Fab, this is gonna open the Fab store. Here you can download free assets or just buy assets that you want to use in your scene. For us, we're gonna try and find these free tree assets that we can place around our scene and just render them. You know, we're not gonna sell them and I'm not gonna include them in my project. You're gonna have to download them yourself. But basically just go into the foliage or plants tab, search for trees. You can filter by price, where you would put the price to the lowest or just select 0. And you're gonna have to find a tree that's gonna work for your scene. I think I used this super tree model here. See, it says it's free, and you just open it up and then click the Add to Project button. This is gonna download the tree with all its textures and basically just create a folder directly in your project that you're working on. Here you can choose the version of Unreal. It's whatever's the latest is probably best. The little loading bar down there is gonna load it, and there you go. You're basically gonna have it ready in your project, in your folder, ready to go. What you want to do now is just select it from the folder, and we're gonna create another foliage type from it. You can drag it directly into the scene if you just need maybe 1 or 2 trees. But yeah, basically see, if you just drag it in, it's ready to go. It's textured, it's looking okay. For our needs, it's gonna be some trees in the backgrounds, and we're gonna use the leaves as foregrounds. So basically we're gonna need, let's say, 50 of them, maybe a little more. So yeah, just drag it here, drag the static mesh into the foliage type. It's gonna ask you if you want to create a foliage type from it, and once you agree, you can start painting some trees into your scene. Select the brush size and the brush density. You can change the rotation, the scale randomness down in the settings, and just populate the scene with the trees however you like. It's getting spooky, isn't it? Look at this. We've created this crazy little forest right in front of us. I just also use the rock assets to create little, just rocks, bigger rocks, little cliffs around the forest to make it more interesting, I guess. And I push the directional light with a little bit more strength to get the god rays looking great. So yeah, see, you get a lot of shadows now, a lot of shadow contrasts, and it's looking awesome. By going and adding a new camera to the scene, we're gonna be almost ready to start rendering stuff here. We're just gonna position it to some place we like at first, but then we're gonna have to change a few settings here so that we get the modern day cameras that we see in the cinemas, in the movies, in the series. So yeah, let's go ahead and select our let's select our 35 millimeter here, and we can also see, here's the focus settings. But what's interesting to us more right now is down here we can see cropping. We're gonna change that to the for less setting. So this is gonna give us this modern cropped movie look. There we go. And once that's ready, we're gonna go and set our you know, the thing is now you can change this focal length to whatever works for you. The bigger the number, the closer the object is going to appear, and you know, the more blurry the foreground is gonna be, or background, depending on how close you are to the object that you're kind of shooting. But yeah, basically if you go to the lower number, you're gonna get a wider lens, and if you go with the higher number, you get a more narrow lens, and it's gonna make the object appear a little closer, which works for us here. You can already see how this cute little scene was created, but just placing the camera in there, setting the focal length to around 80, and now we're just creating some foreground for our camera here. You can see by having leaves and some branches in front of the camera, it creates this like this more atmospheric something is lurking in the forest kind of vibe. That's what we want here. I'm just gonna position the tree here to something that works for us. And now let's change some more camera settings. We can select the focus mode to tracking, and for our tracking object we can just click on our little jar here. So the jar will always be in focus no matter how close or far we move the camera. Let's get our aperture and let's do 1.4. And once that's done, let's go maybe, and we can maybe track our gate at all times. So no matter where we move our camera, the camera is always going to track the gate. For this, we're gonna have to find the settings that we want. It's up here. I think it's the first one. So look at tracking is enabled, and we just select the objects that we want to track. And try moving your camera now wherever you want. It's gonna always track the gate. And it's a little, you know, finicky right now. It looks like it's staggering a little bit, but it's going to smooth out once you hit that render button. So yeah, this works great because now we can move the camera around, and we know that our object is always going to be in focus, and our object is always going to be tracked to the center of our screen. You can of course offset. So if you want to follow the rule of thirds or something, you can offset where the tracking is pointed towards. Now I'm just gonna use our assets that we already have in the scene and just place some more rocks around so that it looks like they're just, you know, like the grass is growing over some rocks in the field here, so that it's not so boring in the background. Here I'm gonna speed it up. I'm just gonna place some rocks around, and in the post-processing I'm just gonna add film grain, just a little bit of film grain, so that it looks a little bit more gritty, and it just gives it a nice feel that I like. I also moved the lights around a little bit to see if it still works for me, and it does. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. We're just gonna go now and add a new level sequence. This is gonna allow us to actually render our scene. So yeah, just add a new level sequence up here. You can choose whatever folder you want, you can place it in root, whatever you want to do. Just name it, let's say, gate tutorial render maybe, and click save. This is gonna open a sequencer down here, right next to your content browser. And what you need to do now is grab your cinema camera actor and drag it into the empty field here. This is going to give us camera controls and give us a lot more options for animating our camera. You can animate the transform option, so the rotation or the movement of the camera. You can decide on how many keyframes it's going to be rendering, and you can decide on the, you can switch every setting you want, actually all of them, just everything, you know, tracking, focus, focal length, whatever works for your scene. And you can see I placed a keyframe here on the last frame. This is where I want our camera to end eventually. And now we're gonna move it, the timeline I mean, to our first frame. And I'm gonna zoom in and try to adjust where the first keyframe is going to be. But wherever you position your little timeline thingy here is where you're gonna place your first keyframe. So I'm just gonna position my camera by just moving it around in the scene to where I like to be the starting point of our animation. You can see I'm here just moving our overscan options just so that it fits a little bit better, the jar I mean. And you can use the offset here, as I said before, to make the tracking be more offset, so it's a little bit more pleasing if it's like, let's say, the rule of third, where you have one thing that's important and 1/3 of the screen, and the other thing like a bigger background or something on the second or the other 2/3 of the screen. Something like this maybe, you know. I don't know if I'm gonna go with this, but this is something like the offset options I'm showing you here. Once I position it where I want it to be, we can create our first keyframe here, just by going down here into our transform and clicking this little keyframe option. And there you go. If you now hit play or the little play button here in your timeline options, you can play the animation, and it goes from the first keyframe, which is the closest to the jar, and moves to the last keyframe, which is where we set it up before, somewhere up in the branches. I can also now try to adjust maybe the focal length here to see if we get something more pretty. You can see me trying 50, 60, 80, whatever makes it look more, just more cool. You see how it now looks more focused on the gate and not so much on the environment. That's basically what we want. And yeah, just by playing it here, it looks pretty cool. Let's see what else we can adjust or work on. So here I'm just really readjusting our area in which the gate should be placed by just moving the camera and adjusting the offset in the tracking options. And after that, I just create another keyframe and extend it to keep it a little bit longer on the same place once the animation is finished. Let's now add our camera shake, and you can do that by just hitting the little plus sign next to your camera and going to camera shake, and then choosing the blueprint that I have provided for you. In the blueprint, you'll be able to change some settings around to make the camera more stable. These are really large numbers. We want to work with something smaller here. And yeah, basically once we get those dialed in, we're gonna have the camera shaking a little bit. You have basically two parameters here. One is for the rotational forces and one is for the transform forces. So yeah, just pick numbers that work for you. Don't make it too dramatic, because this is not designed to be like a action shoot, you know. You just want it to shake a little bit just to make the scene feel more alive and make it more believable, I guess. I also added a little bit of an animation to our point light here in front of the glowing jar. I just made a few keyframes so that it gets darker and lighter as the animation moves forward, just to give the scene a little bit more vibrance, I guess. Okay, so now that that's finished and we have everything in our scene set up the way we want it, it's time to add our movie render queue. Just go to your plugins, type in movie render queue, and select it from the options. You're probably gonna need to restart the engine after that. So this is going to give you a lot more options for rendering this scene the way we want it to be rendered. It's going to be in real time, and we're just gonna have some options for quality settings, keyframes and similar. So here's what it looks like. You can go into here and then just start punching in some numbers here. So for the output, we're gonna need a bigger resolution. We're gonna probably do a 4K resolution. But first, let's add something else. Let's add the H264 MP4 format and add anti-aliasing. We're gonna put it to the temporal super resolution option here. And for the sample count, we're gonna put 7 into the option over here. Once that is done, we can go to our, let's add a high resolution option here, and in our output settings, we're gonna make it so that it's 4K, so that it's a 4K resolution. So by just typing 1920 times 2 and 1080 times 2, we're gonna get a resolution of 4K. Now you just pick a folder where you want the rendering to be rendered to, so where the movie is going to land finally. And once that is done, you can just hit on accept and click on render local and see what happens. If it takes too much time, you can reduce the settings a little bit, but it shouldn't, because we are using real-time lighting here. We are going to have some warm-up renders here, warm-up frames I mean, and it should render everything quite nicely for us. So I noticed here that once the rendering was finished, that I also had the option of JPEGs activated, so you can just unselect that so it doesn't render every single frame out individually and places them in your folder. We just want the MP4 at the end of this. And yeah, the first time around here I also noticed that I didn't have my fireflies in the render here, so I had to go back into the scene and select them and then search for warm-up tiles. I think it's called that. Just search for warm-up or warm in the details panel of your fireflies, and you'll see a warm-up tile count. You can adjust the number of warm-up frames that you want, but that should basically fix the problem and give you the fireflies in the final renders. And that's basically it. Here is how the render turned out for me. I think it's pretty cool. It shows the jar, it shows the gate, everything feels kinda purposeful and cinematic, and yeah, that's basically the whole thing. All you need to do now is go back into your movie sequencer and create new keyframes. Just when you're finished with one part, you can just delete the old keyframes and create some new ones. So you can create transitions like this one for your gate. Just move the camera closer, further away, change the focal length settings, change the position or the rotation of the camera, show some details on your gate. Really bring it to life through just moving the camera around it, and then render it out. And once you're finished and you have, let's say, 4 or 5 clips that you rendered out, you can just throw them into DaVinci Resolve, which is a free editing software that I'm also using right now, and you can create your own gate reveal video or any other asset reveal video, just like I did right here. Our gate is finally finished. Over the course of this series, we've gone through the entire process of creating a game-ready asset, from a simple blockout through modeling, sculpting, UV mapping, baking, texturing, and finally bringing everything into Unreal Engine to light it and create a cinematic render. My goal with this tutorial wasn't just to show you which buttons to press, it was to give you a look at the complete workflow that goes into creating an asset you could actually use in a game. Hopefully, seeing every step from start to finish has made the process feel a little less intimidating. If you've been following along and created your own gate, I genuinely love to see it. Feel free to share your work on our Discord server. It's a great place to ask questions, get feedback, and connect with other artists who are learning alongside you. I also want to say a huge thank you for watching this series. Whether you've been here since part 1 or you just found the channel, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch and support what I'm building here on Silent Run. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.